am a huge fan of the Front Bottoms and also of the Violent Femmes, and these two bands sort of bookend the folk punk genre in time. So I thought I'd do a little research on the history of the folk punk genre, and what I found was pretty much just a long list of bands with wonderfully bizarre names. Some of these bands I had already heard of, like the Meat Puppets or the Moldy Peaches. The Moldy Peaches actually define themselves as anti-folk, but that's like the most punk thing to do ever. Others I hadn't heard before and am now growing quickly obsessed with, like the Wingnut Dishwasher Union. And I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of it was really weird and unbearably whiny and chillingly off-tune. And that's coming from me, and I love whiny off-tune white guy music. But I think it's really cool how a genre can form simultaneously in two different continents. While the Violent Femmes were pioneering folk punk in America, the Pogues were doing it in Ireland, combining traditional Irish folk with punk. Let me know what other folk punk I should be listening to. Alright friends, today we're talking about the Cramps. The Cramps were one of the first punk bands ever, formed in 1976. The thing about the Cramps is that while stylistically and aesthetically and lyrically they were punk rock, their music sound was rockabilly or rhythm and blues. Their lyrics were mostly based on, sometimes it's hard to talk and do makeup at the same time. Their lyrics were mostly based on like retro horror films and old sci-fi movies, and it had like a really campy humor and a lot of sexual double entendre. Theatrical horror blues is how Wikipedia described it. Here they are on a sick poster. You can trace a lot of genres back to these guys, like gothbilly, garage punk, psychobilly, horror punk. The two founding members had stage names Lux Interior and Poison Ivy. Here they are again. And they were married for 37 years and remained married till his death in 2009. Go listen to them. Okay, so I'm not doing this to call this guy out. He made a Violent Femmes reference on my last video that I didn't get. And when I said I didn't get it, he was like, oh, I thought you were a fan. Which is totally fine. I'm not upset. I'm just gonna put this here to say right off the bat, I'm gonna not know a lot of things. In this particular case, he made a reference to an intro that was released in 1993. And I've mainly listened to the first 3 albums of the Violent Femmes, and they were all in the 80s. So I didn't get the reference. And sometimes when people have more information than you do, they like to say that, oh, you don't know anything. Again, I'm sure this was just a funny comment this guy made. I'm not upset about it. I just would like to say that there's probably gonna be a lot of things that I don't know. And also, I'm gonna make mistakes in my videos with the information, I'm sure. And I love it when people correct me kindly and tell me what I've said wrong because I wanna know. And if you have a fun fact about a band I talked about, please tell me. But be straightforward and nice. Never believe the best is behind you. Green Day had great success in the 90s, but their 2000 album Warning didn't do so well commercially. The band was fighting, and they released a greatest hits album which made them feel past their prime. And after finally starting a new album with a fresh sound, they had all 20 of the master tracks stolen. I personally can see myself being tempted to give up at this point. But they agreed the stolen stuff wasn't even their best work, so they started from scratch. They each wrote little sections or vignettes which ended up feeling like scenes or chapters of a much larger story. So they started calling it their punk rock opera. American Idiot took about 10 months and $650,000 to produce. And it was freaking worth it. This album had so many hits, as well as just being a brilliant body of work altogether. These were the songs of my teen years, and they had all the punk anger and political charge and all the pop catchiness. And to this day, many agree it was one of the greatest albums of all time. Today I'm going to tell you about the woman who inspired some of the greatest love songs in rock history. Patty Boyd met George Harrison on the set of Hard Day's Night, where she played the role of the girl on the train who giggles a lot. And this is a cute picture I found. Look at her little gap between her teeth. She's adorable. They got married in 1966 and stayed together for about 10 years, during which time he wrote several songs about her, most famously Something. But she also got the eye of one of George's closest friends, Eric Clapton. And guys, not only did this man have the audacity to sleep with George Harrison's wife, but he also wrote an entire album of love songs about her while they were still married, including the very famous Layla. By the way, George Harrison was also cheating on her. Everyone was cheating on everyone. That's the conclusion I've come to. She married Eric Clapton in 1979, and they stayed together about 10 years as well. Now, she never married Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones, but she did know him during both marriages and inspired some of his more romantic songs as well. When When I first heard the album Dead Man's Bones, a Halloween album made in 2009, I was a little obsessed. It's spooky and campy and dramatic with monologues and a children's choir, and the music is so good that I kept listening to it all year round. So after about a year of listening to it, I finally looked up who made it, and what I found was not what I expected. The entire thing was written and performed by Ryan Gosling and Zach Shields, along with the Silver Lake Conservatory Children's Choir, of course. Shields and Gosling met in 2005, where they bonded over a mutual ghost obsession. Apparently, Shields had been so obsessed with ghosts as a child that his parents put him in therapy for it. And Gosling's parents had moved them out of a childhood home because they had thought it was haunted. And so, the two decided to write spooky music together. But they had rules for themselves, like the two had to be the one playing all the instruments, even the ones they'd never touched before. They also wouldn't do more than 3 takes, even with the kids, because they liked the sounds of the imperfections. Definitely go check it out. Happy Sunday. So I do videos about music history every single morning. And I thought it would be kind of cool if on Sundays I talked about religious or spiritual references in music. Now, Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2 is a political monolith of a song, and there's a ton to discuss about it. But today I'm just going to discuss some of the Christian significance. Bono was a master at sneakily referencing the Bible. Mothers, children, brothers, sisters torn apart is from Matthew 10:35. And he put his own spin on 1 Corinthians 15:32 by saying, "We eat and drink while tomorrow they die." Most importantly, in the final verse he says, "The real battle's just begun to claim the victory Jesus won." He parallels the Bloody Sunday that 13 peaceful protesters in Ireland died to Jesus' Bloody Sunday on the cross. The lyrics are heartbreaking, but at the end there's hope. Not that the rebels or Ireland would win, but that Jesus already won. And because of him, no death is final. That's the true victory, and it already happened.